What if your wins at work didn't have to stop there? WorkHuman's employee recognition platform is built on the world's largest rewards marketplace, tying recognition for great work to the things people love outside it. Crush a project, snag that baking dish you've been eyeing, hit a milestone, celebrate with a weekend getaway. With over 1 million gadgets, gift cards, and experiences, something is redeemed in WorkHuman's in-house store every 3 seconds. Each reward deepens connections, boosts engagement, and helps fuel a culture that knows their work matters and has the receipts to prove it. Head over to workhuman.com to learn more. WorkHuman, a proud supporter of the HR Happy Hour Network. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the HR Happy Hour Network. This is the play-by-play podcast hosted by myself, Jack McFarlane, and Nick Schlemmer.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Well, I've got a little bit of a fun fact to start us off today, Nick. And for those of you listening, today was my very last day of school. I just submitted my last assignment 2 hours ago. Nick is also very, very close. You've got just a couple classes left. Due to his internships, he's had to go a semester longer. But he's very close. I'm just done. So, Nick, what does that mean for us? What joys do we get to go through next?
Jack, that means you first, me second, but we are entering the real world,
Yes.
a real job market. Isn't that great?
It is
Congratulations,
great.
by
Yeah.
the way. I
Thank
know it's
you.
nice hitting that final
That final submit button is, it felt pretty good. So thank you, first of all, and early congrats to you because you're so close as well. But yeah, exactly right. We're going to be jumping into the real world, starting off work. And what does every job have no matter what? That is HR.
HR.
It's HR. So that's what we're going to talk about today, Nick. We're going to take a quick break and we're coming back. We've got how AI is changing HR, and I'm super excited. We are back, guys. And one of the biggest things we talk about in every episode, this is an extension of our year-long series, is what I like to call it. And that's how technology and AI plus Gen Z are changing these different departments and work, right? So today is all about HR. There is a lot of AI in HR right now, a lot of AI, a lot of technology. Obviously, we're on the HR Happy Hour Network. The biggest thing that the network is HR tech. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. Biggest one, most generic thing to know is called agentic AI. This is like the level up from your Chat GPT, just classic AI models that we're all used to at this point. This is like level 2, right? So you're not just talking or creating content, but it's actually acting as an autonomous digital worker to complete a goal. So no more are you saying, hey, GPT, what's the weather? Or hey, GPT, what's 2 plus 2? Stuff like that. And it's just telling you. It's not a question and answer anymore. This is an AI that, for lack of a better term, this is a worker, right? It's doing stuff in the background. It is completing goals for you. So it's very, very advanced. And that's going to be the overall theme when it comes to HR, is this agentic AI, right? So Nick, what are some ways that this AI is being used in HR specifically?
When dealing with HR, Jack, you dive straight into hiring, interviews, going over resumes, screening them, seeing what they're about, what the person has or has not done. And AI is able to, consolidate all of those things and make it easier for the employer in a way to, sort through those. And through the hiring, you can do an AI interview. And I don't know if you've been a part of that yet, Jack. You can speak on that, but I know that's becoming more common.
Yes, I can definitely speak on that. It really is becoming a part of every job application I did. I'm pretty sure there was at least some form of AI being used. The biggest one, I had a job interview where you submit your application. That was step one. And then I'm sure they had AI that did resume screening, which is it goes over all the important parts. That way it doesn't take a human 1 week to go through 1,000 applications. The AI can do it in an hour, right? And it's just picking out the best parts. So made it to step two. Step two was just like a test. Not much AI used in that, I don't think. Just seeing, I don't know, how your mind works. Third step, this is where it got crazy. It was a sit-down interview but with the AI.
Mhm.
So going into it, I didn't really even know what to expect. Like that's very new, very different. I've had other elements that involved AI. Sometimes those tests involve AI. Sometimes the application even involves your AI readiness and what stuff like that. But I did not know what to expect for a full
Yeah.
on interview. And I mean, if you would have told me that it was just a normal interview, it'd be hard to tell it wasn't a real person. It was very, very trippy, for like a lack of a better term. It was
Realistic. Yeah.
it was super realistic. Like it would ask you a question and you'd answer, and it might say, "Oh, what's a past experience you've had, Jack?" "Oh, I worked at Hobble Creek Golf Course in Springville." Then it might ask you a couple more questions, and then it'll be like, "Now, when working at Hobble Creek, did you ever have an experience with a customer coming up to the pro shop and complaining? How would you deal with that?" It would get like very specific. It was like a real
Mhm.
interview where they could call
Mhm.
back. Blew my mind. Blew my mind, and it was totally stress free. I don't know if it just because it wasn't a real person. I had no stress about it. Right? Super interesting. I imagine it's going to be everywhere within 5 years. Most companies will do that, but yeah, it was super interesting.
And, there's a couple parts there that really struck intriguing to me. Um, just the fact that it was able to, like, go deeper into, "You worked at a golf course. Tell me about it." Just on the
Mhm.
spot. Like, sure, maybe they already went through your resume, maybe it knew already that you worked at a golf course, like, in the past, but the fact that it was able to ask you specific questions about, the moving parts of what you did there,
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy to me.
Yeah. That's a good point. I haven't thought of that. Maybe it did know a little bit of background, but it was definitely very intuitive and
Mhm.
able it was literally like talking to a real person. Yeah, so it blew my mind for without knowing what else to say. It was very, very cool. It's a very cool thing. It's a way that AI has been used that I haven't really seen to that level. It was very fluid. It didn't sound robotic. That's the other thing. A lot of the AIs can sound like an AI. This did not.
Mhm.
This sounded like a real human. So just something really cool. But there's a lot more to HR than just hiring and firing, right? I mean, everyone thinks of that, right? HR, oh, you work HR, that's hiring, firing. No, HR is every aspect of the business. So, of course, AI is going to help and technology is going to help with all that stuff. Here's one interesting one that I'm not sure if you've heard of, Nick. I hadn't heard of this until doing research. Super intriguing to me. And it's these predictive AIs that are now able to flag when an employee might be having some trouble, might be thinking about quitting. That way, like you as the manager
Mm.
can step in and
Mhm.
try and solve those issues or figure out a better plan. It's basically identifying people that are like flight risk, right?
Yep.
So if you were the employee, Nick, the AI might somehow be able, maybe through your actions, maybe what you're telling your AI. I'm not exactly sure, but it would somehow be able to flag, hey, Nick, his production's down a little bit. His morale's down. He's looking up Indeed on a company computer. He might be looking for a new job. We should get
Mhm.
involved. And then if I was your manager, I could step in and say, oh, Nick, you have any problems? Like, what can we be doing to keep you around? Right. So
Yep.
that was one of the most interesting things I found. Had you ever heard of anything like that, Nick? This
I have
predictive.
never that's new to me too, Jack, and one point that I wanna make is you said, company computer.
Mhm.
Everything once you get on those company computers, is tracked, it's watched. So if you can tie the AI to that, and then it can see what you're doing, what you're looking up, like you said, maybe your work's a few days late, you're looked up Indeed, all these things. I think just that alone, if you're not on a personal computer doing work, you're on like a company computer where everything's controlled, it's a controlled environment. I think it's going to make those predictive AIs even better.
Yeah, even stronger. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. It is going to be super interesting to give it 5-10 years to really see how
Mhm.
because it's very new, right? All this is new. That's what's really exciting about all this
Yeah.
technology and AI. All this is brand new. So in 5-10 years, it'll be interesting to look back and see what it has become compared to where it is right now. You know,
100%. And I think too, Jack, something like this would work with, those medium to large companies as
Mm-hmm.
far as like total employment. If you have a small company or just a, a private brand that's only 5, 10 people, I would like to think that, as the CEO or the owner, you have a
Yeah.
good
You'd have more
idea
face
of
time, right? It's for like
how
a
everybody's feeling. But if you
yeah,
have 40 people that you have to oversee, maybe something slips by, you don't notice it. And that's where this could
yeah,
come into play.
yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Like if it's a company where you just don't get to see, if you're the boss, if you don't get to see all your employees all the time, and you're very busy, it can be hard to see those red flags, and this AI can just pick up on that for you. So
Hmm.
super interesting. Another way that the AI is changing the game is with these personalized like training paths is what I'm going to
Hmm.
call it, but just personalized training, right? If Nick, you're a brand new hire and I've been working at a company for 5 years, our training should be different.
Yeah.
But in most companies, it's not. It's now you'll get new hire training once, but every year, half a year, whatever, it depends on your company. There is training to be done. What's the use of training if you already know it all, right? I guess it's sometimes it's good to get, that do over, get it fresh in the brain. But overall, you want training that's actually going to train your employees. So AI is able to create all this custom training. I even played around with this in a little bit with Gemini, just kind of giving it fake examples of employees when I was researching um, for this episode. And it's really fascinating. Now, Gemini is not probably what they're using, right? They're probably using a very specific AI that is all it does is look for this and create training. But even Gemini, so it can create that. So I'd say if you're listening and you want to see something neat, start giving your AIs these give a couple fake employees and say how would you train them differently, and it's super fascinating. So it's just all that personalization because it just knows. And we'll get into this in just a minute here, but AI is really getting to know you,
Hmm.
not just what you tell it, but it's able to really start to understand your um, knowledge, your what's the word I'm looking for? Your tendencies. That's the word.
Yeah.
Your tendencies. So it's super personalized. Have you ever seen? I mean, I know for those listening, Nick, he doesn't really have to go through Indeed to find a job, right? Through the PGM, it's totally different. So I know you haven't had too much experience with this, but have you seen
Hmm.
anything like that, or at the golf courses you've worked at all? Anything with this AI personalization?
So I've definitely had, some experience with specific training for, say, a retail job.
Hmm.
Um, whether or not it was put together by AI, I don't, I couldn't speak to that as to whether it was or not. But I've seen these training videos and how they can vary on the title of job you may have. As
Hmm.
for example, a store manager, his training, like he knows it, he's been doing it for a while. It's going to look different than, myself coming in as just a sales associate, learning everything, learning how to sell, things like that. There's different training paths that you have to take people on, like you mentioned. And yeah, if AI uh, can get into that and, excel in um, creating more personable training for each individual, in a quick manner, I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell me about what's the next thing? What's the next big thing that AI is doing when it comes to HR?
Sure. And I think the next big thing, Jack, would be, internal mobility engines, suggesting new roles to current employees at said company who have the right skills. And Jack, I want to point out it's all about skills. I feel like in today's day and age, skills is overtaking, I have this degree in so and so.
Hmm.
What skills do you have? What extra certifications do you may have? But that internal mobility platform, that personalized platform is going to be able to help you hire within is another key component. I think that's important too in HR is
Hmm.
hiring within your own company. You have, you have a job open up and you have 3 or 4 different current employees who you feel that would be a good fit to maybe move into that role. These new mobility engines, these internal mobility engines, are able to suggest, hey, I think Joe may be more valued in this position rather than who knows, Kathy or somebody, whoever it may be. It's able to pick out and probably give you suggestions as to who it thinks should fit into that role.
Yeah, and I think the other big thing about it is it might suggest, Nick, you're working in a department. It might suggest you for this new role that you would never even think about, right?
Hmm.
In 1,000 years, it just wouldn't even pop in your mind to apply for this type of. It might be in a different department. It might be a different title.
That's a good point.
You would just never think of it. But the AI might come to you and say, "Hey, you're good at X, Y, and Z. That matches this job perfectly, and it pays more. You should at least
Hmm.
apply." So it's able to be a second set of eyes, right? It's hard to always see the world through your point of view because if you miss something once, you'll miss it every time. So the AI is like a second set of eyes. And that's where I really think these AIs that are looking for open roles are going to help the most is when it's jobs that you normally wouldn't even think about. But since the AI knows you, it knows you'd be really good at this, right?
Hmm.
So I've hinted at it a couple times here, right? The AI is getting to know you pretty well. And that is what is known as a digital twin. It's a very new risk that is involved with AI, and it's really up in the air on how to deal with it. All about what is the company's property versus what is yours when it comes to the AI. The best way I can describe it is like this. Let's say you have an AI that you're working with, Nick. Well, you're using this AI for everything. You're asking it questions, you're giving it answers, you're having it set your schedules, you're just using it in your everyday job.
Hmm.
Eventually, this AI is going to pick up. This is what Nick does. This is what he knows. This is what he doesn't know. Um, it's basically going to become you. So, at what point, why would the company not just fire Nick and keep the AI? The AI will do everything the same as Nick. It will
Hmm.
do it in your style. It knows what you know, and you don't have to pay it like you pay Nick. Right? So that's kind of the problem. There's some ethics involved in this, obviously, because it's HR, right? Can't escape ethics, it's HR. So so there's this risk of, you know, if you're the one training this AI, even if you're doing it like you're not trying to train it, but you're just naturally it's becoming like you, it's knowing your patterns. Is
Hmm.
that your property or is it the company's? Because it is the company's AI, right? So it's kind of a gray area. And
Definitely.
I don't know, it's definitely something to think about. I don't know if there's not I don't think at least right now there is a right answer of what do you do in a situation like that where Nick just got fired because they're going to hire his AI to, hire his AI
Hmm.
to do his job. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. It's a very new scenario, right?
One,
What are your thoughts on that? What would you do?
Jack, the first thing that comes to mind with the digital twin for me is, entry level jobs. Me and you will be entering the workforce very soon, starting those careers that we hope to build on, the building blocks, creating our foundation for what we hope our future to be. And if AI is learning just as fast as what we are with these entry level positions, I feel at risk. I feel like you would feel at risk the same way. If a company doesn't want to keep 100 employees around all the time and they can put money elsewhere without having us and have our digital twin doing it for us, but maybe it's, you know, Nick's digital twin, but once I'm gone, they can name it whatever they want. They'll never know that it was me.
Yeah.
It's just an AI at this point. Because, like you said, there's that gray area with who owns the rights to what we're doing. So for me, I feel at risk of, how stable is the
Hmm.
job market going to be for us in these beginning years?
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, a lot of the jobs, at least right now, that AI is, taking over are those either entry level, because think about it, a lot of entry level jobs deal with the grunt work of whatever the industry is. It could be some sort of data, it could be busy work, scheduling, stuff like that. It's all stuff that AI can do very well.
All righty, we're going to take a quick break and come back with how Gen Z is changing HR.
All right, we are back and we had a great segment, Nick, I'd say, on AI. and how that's changing HR. Here's the second part of it, right? Is Gen Z. And
Yeah.
these are things that we've talked about a lot, right? Just throughout the course of the play by play as a whole, we've mentioned at least once most of these things. So I don't think it's going to be anything too out there that, no one's ever heard, but still totally worth mentioning, right? Because as more and more of Gen Z is becoming, you
Hmm.
know, eligible to join the workforce, these things
Hmm.
are continuing to change. So, first thing is most young workers really care about what the company does socially. Um, what are their values? What are their pillars? Stuff like that. We've said
Yes.
this multiple times, multiple times. We're just reassuring you guys. This is a trend that is still going up, 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 up. A lot of young workers, especially in Gen Z, really care about what the company values are, what they do socially, what they do for the planet, stuff like that. So just something that we've seen increase over the 4 years. Because I'm sure we've mentioned it throughout the years. So
Yeah.
just a quick
And,
note there on that one.
and Jack, I'll say something too on that here. And with both the digital training I've had for just sales jobs and also my internships, the values and what they care about for these companies, they're shown to me right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as, for example, my internship, as soon as we got on property that first day, we did introductions straight to what are their core values.
Yep.
So I think, like you said, it's only the trend is only going up.
Yeah. And same for me. I've had in every application, it says right there in front of you for you to read all of the company's values,
Hmm.
all their pillars. In every interview I've ever done, it's all been nice to meet you, introductions, values before even interview questions. So yeah, it just, really hammers home that point of you need to be very cautious, not cautious, but you need to be very aware of what your company actually stands for. Because if you're going to get young Gen Z workers, it has to be pretty good,
One
for
hundred
most
percent.
workers, for most
Yeah,
workers.
100%. They have to be transparent about, hey, this is what we believe in, and this is
Hmm.
how we do it. And rolling right off of that transparency thing, Jack, another huge component of what Gen Z looks at, but honestly, I think what a lot of people look at is, transparency in pay. It's becoming the norm to know exactly what the salary range is. They like to put range is this to this. A lot of times,
Yeah.
maybe that changes, especially in today's day and
Hmm.
age. You may have something more to talk about that.
Yeah. I think that's, personally, that's a huge one for me is when I was applying for all these jobs is, yeah, it'll say a range. And normally the range is like $2 to 700 million. Like, okay, that doesn't help. It's really nice to just know, like, companies need to just be honest, especially in the application. This is what you're going to make, right? Because you got to plan your whole life around this job, your finances,
Hmm.
your where you can live, what you can afford, obviously money is a huge
Yeah.
part. So it's not, gone are the days of, "Yo, Nick, what are you getting paid?" Like, very secretive. It's very out in the open, right?
Hmm.
Any public company, you can see what anyone's making nowadays, especially at the top. So it's just this trend of companies, reputable companies, are not trying to hide the pay anymore, right? They're just like, oh, it pays 40,000 a year. Oh, it pays 50,000 a year. Pays $20 an hour, right? Whatever it is, you need to be open and honest about it. Because if you're lying about your pay or being very secretive, you're not going to get young workers. It's just not going to happen. So that's just
100,
another huge thing.
100%. And, whether or not they tell you that value up front, or maybe you have to go through a couple interviews just so they get to know
Hmm.
you, get to see your background, and then they give you a range.
Hmm.
Still very important that it happens and it's accurate.
Yeah. And I'd say if you get through like 2 interviews, if you get to a third interview and they're still not giving you a pay, even at that point, you should have a range. If they're not giving you, Nick, this is our third interview. You know all about the job. They're obviously interested. It's your third interview. They should give you a specific pay because you, as the worker, deserve to know. And personally, if I made it through 3 or 4 rounds and they still weren't giving me pay, I would just cut it off because if they're wanting to hide that now, what are they going to hide later? So, huge red flag. if you're not transparent anymore. Um, Another one is flexibility. I feel like those go hand in hand for some reason. I always think pay and flexibility are kind of in the same ship, right?
Yeah.
Um, this one's not as common. It's not a huge red flag if your job is a 9 to 5 every day of the week, but it's more of a bonus. Like it'll be a lot easier to hire Gen Z employees if you're like, hey, we've got flexible hours to maybe you're doing a master's, right? A lot of Gen Z's graduating, a good amount is going to go in and on to even higher education, right? Master's, doctorate. You can say, hey,
Hmm.
you're able to work around your class schedule, or hey, you can work some odd days. Like maybe you work Tuesday through Saturday. I don't know, right? It just whatever that is,
Hmm.
that's a huge draw for Gen Z. So if you're able to offer stuff like that, you're going to get a lot of Gen Z applicants. Just a huge perk to have if you're in HR and offering jobs.
100%. It's just focusing more on, getting work done versus you have to be here for 8 hours a day.
Hmm.
If it takes you 5 hours, takes you 5 hours. But if you get everything done, it's done correctly, it's done well. I think Gen Z would be very attracted to a job that, ties in that flexibility component, like you mentioned.
Exactly. And then, kind of going away from the hiring side, right? Because it's like we said, there's a lot more to HR than hiring, firing. Is just overall, reviews. That's a big part of HR, your yearly review. It can, in a lot of
Hmm.
companies, determine your bonus, if you get a raise, lots of things, promotion, whatever it might be. We're starting to see that that's changing to more of an instant feedback. Gen Z is thought of, I would say stereotyped a lot to be very short, not short fuse, but TikTok, very quick, 6 seconds, 6 seconds. Like
Yes,
their
we're.
attention span
Mhm.
is very fast. And so we've kind of seen this trend of it's going to this fast instant feedback. So, HR is starting to have to develop along with that, right? You can't, with a Gen Z employee, you just can't wait a whole year to give your feedback, right? They want to know right away. And especially because I would say I'm in that boat as well. Like if I was doing something wrong, I would want to know right away. I don't want to wait a year and then be like, you were
Yeah.
really good at this, Jack, but in category Y, you were pretty bad. Here's where you can improve. Well, I would have preferred to know that 7 months ago, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's this replacement of yearly reviews to just pretty instant feedback, which
Yeah,
I think personally is a good trend. So, I
I
mean, maybe
agree.
some, yeah,
I agree with you. I think the instant feedback could definitely help um, your employees and the employer in those areas of you're really excelling here, but we're kind of falling behind in this other
hmm
section. I think right then and there, if we can address it when you start to see, a fall or something like that, is great. I think the instant feedback is great for that. And then I don't know, Jack, maybe this is just a me thing. I think always have the instant feedback, but also at the end of the year, why not still do, that
yeah,
yearly review and just go over everything
yeah.
as a whole? But
I
I
agree with
do
that.
think, and I agree
I
with
agree
you,
with
the
that.
instant
Yeah,
feedback is very important.
yeah. I agree with you as well. Gosh, takes me 20 times to say I agree. My bad for that. but but yeah, having that yearly review is nice. There are a lot of benefits to it, but don't save all your feedback for it. All right, and the final point I want to move into is something that you kind of mentioned earlier when it came to AI, Nick, and that's your skills. I know you have some personal experience behind this, but HR
Hmm.
with Gen Z is looking for more of your specific skills or certifications, stuff other than your traditional college degree, right? It's now gone
100%.
beyond. If let's just be honest, a 4-year degree is not enough. It's great to have, but it's not enough, right? Back in the day, 40
Hmm.
years ago, if you had a college degree, you're getting hired right away. That is not the case anymore. There are countless people that have been graduated for a year and a half that still don't have jobs because all they have is that degree, right? They haven't gone out of their way to do more certifications. They
Hmm.
haven't gone to do other trainings, whatever it might be. and they're still looking for a job, right? Because companies are now focusing on these skills and other things on top of your degree. I know you have personal experience with this, Nick. So why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, of course. The job market has definitely shifted away from, like you mentioned, just having that degree. They want to see what makes you stand out. Why should we hire you over this other person? All these little things come from skills, extra certifications that you can get alongside with your 4-year degree or any experience you may have. And then just for me personally, I can speak to, PGM and everything that entails. But you can get, I'll get my 4-year degree in professional golf management. But really, what makes you stand out in the country club private industry is, okay, what else do you have on top of that? Are you TrackMan certified? Are you, PGA Reach? Are you involved in that? All these different things you can either get involved in or, take a short course on and test on and become certified in. All these little areas help you stand out that much more. And that's something that I've come to learn that, as far as my industry goes, people are looking for right away. They'll see your
Hmm.
experience, great. They'll see you got your degree, awesome. But have you done anything else
Yeah.
outside of the
And
normal?
you've done this, like you've done a certification. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am soft skills certified and technology certified in the state of Florida at my last internship. And those are both great. It's not tied directly to golf per se, but those soft skills and technology skills can be applied to
Hmm.
everything,
Yeah.
every job market, anything in your everyday life. So it's great to have, whether it's even for, say, a finance or an accounting thing. Maybe it's a side certification in Excel or something like that. Huge, can play a huge, and they're eye catching. That's the thing, Jack. They're eye catching to these companies whenever they're looking through your resume or just asking about what you've done. Soon as you mention something that they haven't heard before or something else that you've done that you did on your own time, keyword there is your own time, their eyes light up. Alrighty, guys, we are back with today's quote of the show. And I have a little bit to touch on here before I tell you the quote. Today we've talked about, employees feeling valued, supported, motivated in their job, and how they better deliver results. They're more innovative and they represent your company well whenever all these things are tied together. So, in other words, winning the marketplace isn't just about your strategy or what products you have. It starts with investing in your people. So today's quote comes from Douglas Conant, a former CEO of Campbell's Soup. He said, and I quote, "To win the marketplace, you must first win the workplace. You must win who you are, who your company is. And that's your people, your employees, who you hire." Thank you guys, and bye for now.